Hi guys, my name is Maria Park and this is Approach to Nerd. And in this episode, we are reviewing Batwoman Season 2, Episode 3, entitled Batgirl Magic. And Ryan is not feeling the magic yet because she is still very insecure about being Batwoman. There are a lot of scenes that kind of, back that up. The first being when she's fighting what I'm assuming is one of the members of the False Face Society, minus the Joker. Yeah, I'm pretty much Black Mask False Face Society. And he calls her out and, he's like, who are you? And she's like, I'm Batwoman. He's like, no, you're not. And she literally gets on calm and asks Luke for a comeback. And I'm like, now this is a girl who always has something to say, but when you call her out on something she's insecure about, she can't do anything. And I think that's very cool. I love that she's just not adapting to being Batwoman immediately. And she's still learning. Also, she has problems with the weapons. Like she's not very good at throwing the batarang. She's not very good, with his staff, with Batman's staff or Batwoman's staff, should I say. She's not good at the tech. The suit doesn't fit her very well because, let's be honest, Ruby Rose was 5'11", so her Kate Kane more than likely was 5'11", and I think Ryan is either my height, which is 5'5", or 5'4", or 5'3". I don't know. She's short because she's about the same height as Mary. Sometimes she looks shorter than Mary, and Mary's not that tall. So, yeah. The boots apparently don't fit. The suit's too big. She's having issues, which she does rectify later in this episode. We finally get our curly wig, or our natural hair that actually suits a woman of color. And I'm completely down with that. So yeah, I am happy about that. But like the journey to get to that point, I mean, she's called out by a lot of people, including our villain of the week, Victor Zsasz, who we saw briefly in the trailer. So we knew he was going to be in Gotham. And then of course we saw him in last year's Birds of Prey or Harley Quinn movie. Victor Zsasz is just a person who enjoys killing and inflicting pain and really gets off with inflicting pain on himself. He is crazy. And he is portrayed even more like a sociopath because he's completely functional as a human being while killing people in broad daylight. Like he jokes, he's charismatic, but yet he could literally sit there and slit your throat and not think another thing about it, stay on schedule. So yeah, I really enjoyed the actor's portrayal of Victor Zsasz in this episode. You really saw the elements of cray, in that. Now, there are a lot of things happening in this episode. There are a few Easter eggs, like I did mention before, that we are dealing with the Faceful Society, and the Crows are after this drug called, I think it's called snake bite. And basically it's a psychedelic that's made from mushrooms, and the scarecrow's fear toxin, because why not? And so, Jacob's like, I don't want this on my street of, Gotham. And so that's their mission. And then simultaneously, he also got Kate's cell phone from the wreckage, and it's still intact. It still has battery, and he doesn't know the password. So he's trying to find Sophie to see if she does. And I'm thinking, why would Sophie know the password? That doesn't make any sense. I realized that Kate was gaga in love with Sophie, and we all know vice versa, but they weren't together. So how would she know the password to Kate's phone? Unless it's Sophie's like birthday or something. I don't know. That's just weird. Besides, you have all this tech around you and surveillance and supercomputers. Just hack it. But whatever, neither here nor there. So yeah, they're dealing with the fact that the False Face Society is in Gotham pushing this snake bite drug or toxin on the streets. So we have that as a mini side story. Now, we don't see Julia in this at all, but we do finally get to see Sophia. So Alice and Sophie were drugged in an alley where they were confronting each other, or basically Sophie was trying to arrest Alice, and they were taken to Sophia's island. And what's interesting to me is Alice apparently has been to Sophia's island before. As a matter of fact, Sophia has trained her, which is so different from the comics, because in the comics, they kidnapped Beth and tortured her and brought out the Alice persona again out of her. So basically Alice is a creation in the comics of Sophia. And I always thought that was really interesting. And one of the big things we learned, which is not really a shocker because the showrunner even said they were not going to kill off Kate Kane. So even though her plane went down and yada, 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 I knew she wasn't dead because they said they weren't going to kill Kate Kane off. So Sophia basically drops a bomb when Alice comes and tries to kill her, because that's why Alice wanted to go there, because she's so angry that Sophia caused her not to get the perfectly planned revenge against her family, aka her sister, who she still does not want to kill, no matter what she says. She's crazy, but she still cannot. She has an unnatural attachment to her twin because she feels that her twin is the only one that loves her. It's literally what Alice believes. And so because of that, she exposed the Desert Rose, which is why Sophia is mad. And she tried to kill Sophia. And Sophia was like denying it. Turns out Sophia has Kate's necklace. I don't know why Kate was still wearing this necklace, especially everything that went down with Alice. I know it was given to them by their mother and they both cherished their mother, but I don't know why she had it on, but whatever. I'm trying to rack my brain to see if I know in the pilot episode she wore it, but I don't remember if she just continuously wore this necklace throughout season 1 and why she just happened to have it on then. So I don't know. That seemed to be just a really quick and easy and convenient plot device for us to have as a symbol of Kate still being alive, because how would Sophia have this necklace if Kate died in the plane? So yeah, Sophia has Kate. And she wants Alice to do something for her, and then she'll get Kate back. At first, I thought that Alice was going to keep this information to herself, but she tells Sophie when they get back from the island. And I thought that was really interesting that, she's like, we have to go do something, or she won't give Kate back, which I guess technically is an incentive for Sophie not to arrest her, because if she's trying to get Kate back, then 100% Sophie's not going to get in the way of that, even though she desperately does not like Alice. Anyway, and I'll touch a little bit more on that in a minute, but I just think it's interesting how this was played out, because Sophia, so if you've read the comics, then you know that Sophia was actually one of Kate Kane's lovers in the comics. And she's had a few. Sophia is canon. Sophia is canon. Of course, we have Renee and Maggie, but Sophia actually saved Kate's life because Kate gets stranded on her island with people of Koreana. So she does surgery. I can't remember. She did like major surgery. She did something. She had like a head injury or something. And I can't remember if that's what she did. Like she did surgery herself. I know that Kate Kane does have a metal plate in her head. And I know that is to do with Sophia, but it's been a long time since I've read these comics. So just forgive me. But she does save her. And so they end up becoming lovers on the island. And then something happens. And because they all live in this island or like remotely away from everyone. They don't have the same inoculations to, diseases that we have. And so something that Kate had transmitted to people on the island and someone ended up dying. And so she left, and I think somebody else was blamed for it. But, Kate is the reason that the disease came there. And that kind of split them up. And then later on, Sophia is the one that kidnaps Beth and then forces Alice back out. So it's cray cray, it's cray cray. I've always loved that though. And like all the roles in Batwoman, like I love this play on it, because you see here in Arrowverse, we have the Desert Rose, which is capable of, it's basically a cure-all. It cures all diseases, but yet in the actual story, Kate spread disease to Koreana. In this version, Sophia kidnaps Kate to force Alice to do something. And in the comics, it's the other way around. She kidnaps Beth and makes a mortal enemy out of Kate. It's all like crazy, even down to Julia, how Julia aligned herself with Sophia to keep Kate safe. But if you read DC Rebirth, Julia was basically the Luke Fox to Kate Kane's Batwoman in the comics, especially in DC Rebirth. So like all of this is interesting. So it makes me wonder where they're going with the story, because the CW verse is its own universe. So they do things at their own pace. They change storylines. They make smaller, insignificant characters larger than life. So I can definitely see that playing out with Sophia, but it does seem like Sophia is not going to be the big baddie. I mean, she's going to create some messes, but I don't think she's going to be the big baddie of the season. That's probably going to be Black Mask, unfortunately, because they did kind of drop him. You know, one of the crows came up to Jacob. Oh no, two of the crows were talking, and they didn't take the information to Jacob about a man wearing the black mask. You know, and we knew they were talking about them. All right, so back to people being in their feelings. Luke, he is not giving Ryan a chance. Like I feel like he feels so much guilt for allowing this person to run around in Kate's stuff, basically is how he sees it, that he's having a lot of problems accepting, Ryan and her role as the temporary, according to him, Batwoman. Mary, on the other hand, she is completely 100% in because she is thinking more on a scientific level. So instead of being overly emotional like Luke is, which is interesting considering he's also into science and numbers. She's running the math, talking about, the multiverse, the probability of how many multiverses there are, the survival rates of a car crash and surviving a plane crash or the drop from a plane crash. Statistically, it's impossible. So she pretty much, Mary has determined that Kate is dead, which is different from what she said in the pilot, how she wasn't going to let Jacob give up. But if you looked at her eyes, you could see, even when she was laying in the bed crying, that she was coming to terms and grieving that her sister was dead. So interesting. It is interesting. And it does not go unnoticed by Luke because Luke is upset that Mary gave Ryan the job, even though technically Ryan, hired herself. And is very, very unhappy that she's basically the PR for Ryan's Batwoman when they're supposed to be keeping the suit warm for Kate. So it's interesting. And like the whole thing with Ryan's parole officer is so interesting to me because that woman, I swear to God, I feel like she is gung-ho to call, and call off her parole. Like being 12 seconds late almost does not merit you having to tell somebody, immediately that you got a job. I could have been stuck in traffic. You don't know why I was late, but so Ryan had to lie. And basically she hired herself as the bartender of Kate's bar Hold Up, which is now owned by Mary. And Mary goes along with it, which was a very funny scene. But what I thought was really interesting is in the episode, they're looking for Victor Zsasz, and Mary was like, he hit Hamilton and killed some, a scientist or a couple of people at Hamilton, and they're being very quiet about it. And of course, Ryan's like, but your name is Mary Hamilton. Can't you just figure it out? And she's like, and Mary's like, well, I sold my stock when my mother died, and I don't really know any of the stuffy board members. And Ryan's like, wait, you're a multi-billionaire? Then why am I only making $12.50 an hour? Which is pretty, I don't know how one would survive on $12.50 an hour in Gotham, because does Gotham have a lower? I mean, they have a lower class, but I just assume they were the homeless people like Ryan sleeping in their van. So I don't know what kind of apartment she's supposed to get, which is something the PO told her to do. She has a job now. She has to get an apartment, or she's gonna be written up again. This woman is not trying to help. She's not trying to help. But yeah, I just thought that whole exchange was funny. Also, Ryan's past keeps coming up. Now, remember last week with Sophie, we knew that she knew Sophie because they had a lot of like run-ins, and Sophie actually mentioned a girlfriend, and that potentially Ryan actually took the fall for her, which is probably true. Well, we learned the girl's name is Angelique Martin, and she runs in the same circles as Victor Zsasz. As a matter of fact, Ryan says, I ran in the same circles, which is kind of cool. And that's how we're going to get all these connections to all of these villains now. Because with Kate, Kate is an heiress. She has a lot of money, and she, basically left West Point because of the, don't ask, don't tell. And she did go and, train in Tibet, and she has all these experiences with fighting, but she has no connection to the underground like Alice does. But Ryan does. because Ryan was part of the underground. So I really like that aspect. Luke was literally being an a-hole about it. He's like, oh, why would you run with the circle? Why are you running in the same circles as a hired hitman? He's being so judgmental, but it's because he's so upset about Kate. But yeah, I do like that they're keeping that. I think that's really interesting. I do wonder, story-wise, because I know that Black Mask more than likely is going to be the villain of this season. I just feel it. I think Sophia is just a side note. She's going to cause a lot of damage, but it's just a side note. But I do wonder if we're going to get the many arms of death. That is something that I really want to know, because the many arms of death is basically who kidnapped Beth. And Tatiana, more than likely, is a member of the many arms of death. So I really want to know how they're going to play out. Are they going to come to Gotham? Are we going to see some stuff like we saw in Arrow, where Ra's al Ghul starts sending everyone to Star City? Are we going to have something similar in Gotham? I don't know. I think it would be interesting, especially since Sophia is a Batman character as well. A Batman villain, really. Batwoman just happened to sleep with. Just saying. Tatiana was cool, though. I like the interaction between Sophie and her, and I like the fight, even though Tatiana was literally about to kill Sophie. And the only thing that saved Sophie was Sophia. And apparently, according to Alice, that probably means that Sophia has a crush on you. So that's probably bad. But I did like the whole, because she was like, are you going to, go after Alice, when we leave here? And Sophie's like, yeah. And so Tatiana's like, well, I don't have any use for you then. And she was going to kill her. So Tatiana is a very cool character. And I don't think this is the last we're going to see of Tatiana at all. So I am very excited to have more interaction with her. Whisper in general was cool. I don't know. I feel like there's so many things going on in this series, but the one thing I am happy about is that, like with Ryan, she's taking her time with her own version of who Batwoman is. And one of the things I think is so funny about her is when she couldn't figure out how to release the staff, earlier when she was going to fight Victor. Later when she fights him and, he has her pinned down, she just pushes the button, the staff, and it just knocks him out. And I think that is so cool because that's her personality. It's like she looks for that out. And I think that is really, really cool. I love how they write Ryan. I think they write Ryan very well. I am very excited about her and Mary's relationship. I mean, I feel like they both need a BFF. I don't know if anything romantic will ever come out of that because I honestly don't know who or what Mary's into. For a while, I thought in season 1, she was into Luke. But now I don't know if they're more BFFs or siblings, in a way, or there's actually chemistry or attraction there because neither of them seem to be interested in dating anyone. And it's like the side characters don't get a lot of character development in that way. Because honestly, outside of the Batcave, yeah, we know about Luke's, father being murdered and, how it was hard on his mother and, what school he went to, but we don't know his friends. We don't know anything else about his life. Mary, we know she has her underground, medical facility that has like a lab and a bunch of tech and she's able to fund more because she's a multi-billionaire now, but we don't really have anything else. We had superficial stuff last season with people she knew online, but nothing. So I'm really hoping, like, I don't even know if she's still in school. Like, she's in medical school. When does Mary have time to go? I mean, does she still go to medical school? We don't know anything about them. So it's interesting. I'm really hoping they flesh this out more this season. And then having the whole interaction between, Ryan and Victor when she's pretending to hire him to kill Alice. I love how seamless it is. I love when Victor was like, oh, I know what you did to Angelique. You broke her heart, and it's like, just don't do to her what don't do to me what you did to her. It makes me really want to know now what the hell happened in Ryan's background. How did she meet Angelique? Will we see Angelique in this season? I mean, there's so many things, so many possibilities, that are out there for this that I'm extremely excited about. But I do wonder what happened with Julia this episode because she wasn't in it at all. And after how Sophie treated her, that's the one problem I'm having. Sophie being a bitch to Julia is not technically fair because if she had known Kate's secret, she would have kept it from everyone too. And we all know that's true. It's just what it is. She's more hurt that she knew that Julia knew and she didn't. That's basically what that boils down to. So yeah, But overall, very good episode. I am excited for the next one. It looks like we're pulling a lot more comic book villains out from the Batman universe, so I'm extremely excited about that. And again, I'm loving that Ryan is coming into her own, so I'm excited to see what they do, and her and Luke kind of patching things up a little bit, or at least finding common ground at the end was a nice little cherry on top of a very interesting cake. But I want to know what you guys think, so please leave me a comment below and let me know. And if you would like to sign up for jury duty, hit the subscribe button. If you'd like to know who's next in their ballot, hit the notification bell. Until next time, I can't wait for you to approach the nerd. Bye, guys.
Thank you for watching my video. I really appreciate it, but hey, the party doesn't have to stop now. Click on one of these videos and keep it going.